Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I am your host, Jeremy Weber, and I am joined, as always, by my man in the Netherlands, Dan Vondelok. Dan, how are we doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Unfortunately, you had an episode planned today with Greg Norman, but unfortunately, you had
hmm
to postpone it. And now we're here. We're
Yep,
covering the market, and it
we
feels like it's been ages, right?
yes, sir. Yeah, we're back today. I'm in a different location. I am in the basement of my parents' house in Missouri, so things look a little different. Lighting's a little weird, but we're gonna persevere anyways. We're kind of I got off the plane about an hour and a half ago, and
Um,
so we're jumping right into it, man. We need to talk NFTs. The people need their content. It's been a wild week. We're gonna recap it as best as we can today. So please, if you're watching this, hit that like button. We want to try to get as much information out to people as possible, try to provide some good insights on NFTs, subscribe to our channel, and then most importantly, head over to FLOLiO.com. That is FLOLIO.com. Link your account, check your wallet valuations. We're adding more and more every day. We have trait floors up for a bunch of new projects. So you're going to see more accurate valuations of your portfolio than you will at sites that only use the floor price. So head over to FLOLiO.com, link that wallet, download the browser extension for free. Those rarity rankings are in the browser extension as well. So if you're shopping on the marketplace, you can utilize those to find as good of a deal as you can. So, Dan, let's jump right into it. The news of the week has been Azuki. We'll touch
yeah.
on it briefly. We did pretty much an entire show about that on Tuesday. Some stuff has changed since the Zagabond space on Tuesday. Later that night, he put out a thread where he basically said that he messed up on the
hmm
interview. It felt a little forced, like he was backtracking quite a bit. The price action on Azuki and Beans has been crazy this week. It got down to like 7 at one point. Now it's at almost 17. So people are, I guess, accepting his apology. I guess they're okay with what he and the rest of the team have done in the past, and they're moving on from it. I've made my opinions very clear, both on here and on Twitter, that I don't think he should be in that position anymore.
hmm
I have no regrets selling my Azuki, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But I have no financial interest in it. Whatever people want to do is on them, but I it doesn't make sense to me. But a lot of stuff doesn't make sense to me. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. What do you think about it, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's weird. I don't know where people are coming from with all this money. That they're like the price is going up, right? So that means there's more people that want to buy it than people that want to sell it. I assume. And if you have an Azuki, holding it seems fair. Like, all right, yeah, I mean, you can hold it. You don't have to sell. But there's actually people buying Azuki right now, and I can't
Yeah,
imagine why. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I guess they did accept their apology, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they rugged three projects, like,
yep.
or at least two, to be fair, to give them some. Because they said Funks got DMCA'd or something. Um, but we still don't know anything. They're not being transparent at all. They're not saying who's been on the previous projects. And, Zagabond's just out there being like, kind of like shielding the rest from all this stuff. But they need to be more transparent moving forward. And that includes, like, saying who has been on the previous projects. And my god,
Yeah.
they're pumping and it's
If you
rough.
look at the volume here on the FLOLiO site for Azuki, it was pretty flat. And then once prices started to fall, volume went up because people were buying a bunch at a lower price as the floor was being undercut. Then it kind of stayed still for a little bit, and then volume spiked again. And this was right around when Zagabond had his interview in that night, and it
Yep.
remained incredibly high over the last few days. I mean, we're looking at 14 to 16,000 Ethereum traded a day, and that's pretty crazy, especially in a bear market. And you know, people obviously had money on the sidelines. There was a lot of concern, economically right now around the world of, you know, recession for the entire global economy. But people had money sitting there in ETH. We also saw the price of ETH drop a lot, so people may have
Yeah.
been sitting on cash, and then bought ETH just to buy Azuki, which, Azuki was selling in the 30s of Ethereum back when it was close to $3,000. So people are thinking, okay, if I can buy Ethereum for $2,000 and Azuki is selling for 14 ETH, this is an opportunity right here. So it's a bet that the community, I'd say the community for Azuki is very strong. Like the people who are really into it love that project, and I hope that they hold the team to a very high standard of transparency moving forward. So I understand it from that standpoint. So it's it's going to be interesting to see if they can rebound from this, to what extent they can rebound. Can they get to the place they were before? I'm not sure, but people are betting that they can. Obviously, that's been made crystal clear that a lot of people still believe in it. So we will continue to see how that goes. And this has definitely sparked I'm not going to say if it's a bull market at the moment, because a lot of stuff is in the green, but a lot of stuff is also continuing to go down. We've seen a lot of projects in the top 100 go green in the last few days. So we've seen Bored Ape Yacht Club make a comeback. We've seen a little pullback in Doodles. We'll get to them later. Moonbirds are on their way back up. A lot of stuff that had maybe hit like a local bottom has started to recover a little bit.
Yeah.
We see it with Cool Cats. We see it with World of Women. We see it all over the place. So I don't know if this is just a temporary like dead cat bounce, if you will, or if things have stabilized. People have bought the ETH dip and are now deploying that ETH into higher quality NFTs that they believe will hold that value better than just it sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe I'm being pessimistic, but I think it's temporary. I think that we haven't really seen like a big bear market yet, right? Like we've seen like a quote unquote bear market where it lasts like a week. Then we're like, oh yeah, back to pumping. Like
I think we've seen like in the last year, I think we've seen like one bear market that was like a month
December?
or two. There was a period in the summer of a couple weeks, and then there have been a few like almost month-long ones. I think it's interesting though, trying to figure out how NFT bear markets are going to compare to traditional markets, just because things move so quickly. And if we see, I don't think that ETH is going to be recovering to like 3,000 levels anytime soon. Like nothing has really changed from an overall like sentiment standpoint. Like things are still really bad around the world, and I don't see that like being magically fixed in the next like couple of months. So if ETH continues to trade sideways for a little bit or go down, that could benefit, especially some of the higher quality NFTs, right? And it could benefit new projects too that are going to be minting out at a low cost. If projects start to realize like, hey, we can't mint out for a 2 ETH Dutch auction like Pixin did, we have to go back to the Bored Ape model of doing a 0.08 mint. That could be very beneficial for new people getting in, and that could be a great place to kind of keep an eye on right now. Is we've seen the minting process go all over the place, from low prices to high prices to Dutch auctions. Maybe we're back in getting toward that place of cheaper mints and therefore greater opportunity to try to flip some projects. So that's something we'll be talking about for sure in the coming weeks as new projects begin to come out.
Yeah, I'd say so. I wonder, like, I still don't know what I prefer, right? I imagine minting like let's say other side, like a public mint, and mints like 0.04 or something. Like that's rough, like you need a higher mint price to just like calm the masses down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think using like an Azuki, for example, I think I would maybe prefer, like, if a really really hyped up project, I think I personally would prefer like a 1 ETH mint or something. But it's hard. Like gas fees are messed up,
Yeah, gas fees are messed up. I think, we talked the other day that a lot of doxed teams are going to probably be the norm moving forward. Like, especially for higher price mints, like I'm not going to pay a high price for a mint if it's a totally anonymous team and they've provided no information about any other projects they've done.
Yeah.
Like that was one of my issues with Azuki. It's like, if he would have shared the information about the projects in advance, that'd be a totally different situation than waiting until 4 months into it to reveal that he'd been a part of those projects. Like that's
And the worst part is, if Azuki failed, they would move on to the next one.
Yeah, and under a totally different name.
Yeah, they're saying no, we're fully committed to building this out, but if it failed, it's just gonna be one of the next projects in line. Like they're gonna be they're gonna try again, and that's what happened to CryptoFunks, Sunks, and Tendies. That didn't work. Okay, rug and move on, And that's just the horrible taste I have with Azuki. It's just like a lucky coincidence that this happened to work, and now they're pretending like they're super committed to Azuki, and yeah, guys, we're gonna take over the world. Dope shit only, guys. We're building. It's just kind of frustrating.
There's been a lot of building and a lot of learning, Dan.
And learning, the learning stuff.
That's learning. That's
amazing.
So, we've it's just been a weird one. Just like absolute insanity. We had Doodles yesterday begin the claiming process for the Duplicator. Mm-hmm. That happened last night, and the floor dipped a little bit. That's been another one I have had a hard time wrapping my head around. Like the Doodles floor got up to like 24.5, and then right around the time that claiming started for the Duplicator, it was down to like 14.5. So which is weird. Like that's not normally how the price action goes.
Yeah, like the other way around, right?
Yeah, leading up to a claiming process or an airdrop, like usually that floor spikes and then it dips down after, but it was the other way for Doodles. And so what we learned about the Duplicator yesterday was really not a whole lot. Uh-huh. The claiming process is going to run through June 21st. The next day at NFT NYC, they're premiering a trailer for the Duplicator. I'm not sure what that means. The day after that, they're revealing the traits and the rarities. And then sometime in the summer, duplication begins. So we know that we'll find out more information. This is another kind of typical Doodles thing of like, they do the announcement of the announcement of the announcement. Like that's been the running joke all over Twitter. And it's kind of happening again. Like we're doing the revealing of the NFT, but then we'll be revealing what that NFT does in a month. And then sometime after that, you're going to get to use that NFT. So we still don't know much about it. My hope is that the price goes down. Like I'm keeping my eye on like the middle of June before NFT NYC to see if interest has dipped, because I still think Doodles long term is a good project. I'm kicking myself because you and I were both around when Doodles started. I've never really liked the look of it, but the team is pretty solid. They've just brought on a new CEO.
Yeah.
And I think there's a ton of potential there. So my hope is that we see the price of Doodles dip down below 10. And the Duplicator has been trading in the mid to high 2s. I hope we see that come down to like the low 2s or even the high 1s. Because if I could get a Duplicator for around, like a Doodle with the Duplicator for like 10, 11, 12 ETH, I don't think that's a bad buy at all.
What's the supply for the Duplicator?
It's 1-to-1. So
only 10K?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can claim.
Not bad.
And that's the thing, is you have to claim it. So there are probably people who, don't claim theirs because they've forgotten about it or something happened. So right now there are only 5,000 Duplicators that have been claimed. And actually the floor price is up to 3.9.
Wow, 3.9. Oh, man. I was thinking about picking one up if it was still around 2. Man, why I gotta do this?
Yeah,
that's depressing.
So that's up. The floor on Doodles is just under 14. So you're looking at, almost 18 to get a Doodle with the Duplicator. Like I said, that's one place I'm going to keep my eye. That's also why I kind of want to see ETH drop back down under 2,000, because I sold some ETH the other day at like 2,100, and I want to redeploy that into Ethereum if it dips down. So I'm kind of hoping for a temporary like drop in the price so I can buy back in and put that capital somewhere else. And that feels like a good place to put it for the time being.
I mean, yeah, but there's only 10K Duplicators. Like, that's honestly like a decent purchase. Even at 3.9, it's it's probably still fine.
Yeah.
It all just depends what it does, right? If
Yeah.
it's
Like,
an
do you?
extension, oh, sorry.
No. Do you need a doodle to really get the most of it, or are you going to be able to use it if you don't have a doodle as well?
That's the burning question, right?
Yeah.
Because every single person buying now, or like, well, not every single person, but like the majority of people buying on the secondary are people who do not have a doodle.
Yeah.
Imagine that they say, "Oh, you can duplicate your doodle," and then because the one-to-one is it has to mean something, right?
Well, is it going to be like with mutants? Because you can, if you bought a serum and you didn't have a mutant, it was fine because the price of those have gone crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember back in November, I bought a couple M2 mutant serums for like 6 ETH a piece, and now they're going in the 50s. We already used
Yep.
them, but like, if the duplicator is one of those deflationary assets where it gets burned when it's used, and you can only use it, and each doodle can only be duplicated one time, there's a ton of value in picking that up and holding it for a while, because as supply goes down, if Doodles continues to do well, price is
Yeah.
going to go up. So yeah, I'll be keeping my eye out there to see if there's any value that comes as the hype dies down
Yeah.
over the coming weeks. I'm really hoping for a good old fashioned bear market so I can just like
Yeah,
buy into
but
some of the stuff while everyone else is panicking.
like I think you're right, because if you buy a duplicator, you're betting on their brand, right? Like if Doodles as a whole, as a collective, as a brand grows, then the duplicator will grow alongside, and it's a cheaper entry, you know. Like I'm sure you'll see the same like ROI on a duplicator and like a Doodles. I think like I think if Doodles grow 50%, I'm sure we'll see the duplicator grow 50% or whatever.
Yep.
Or like maybe not exactly, of course, but like they're both gonna grow. So I think I wonder, like, if you believe in the team, then it's a fine purchase.
Yeah.
But
I
yes,
think so
6 hours
too.
ago it was trading for like 2 point something. So
It's definitely it's pumping a little bit. So, keeping an eye out there. Pixin is revealing tomorrow. They have been trading, they've been pretty steady. That was one project that saw some benefit from Azuki going
yeah,
down.
Insta,
They
yeah.
were trading in the mid fours. Now they're just under 4. So the reveal is happening tomorrow, Dan.
It's within 24 hours is what they said. So I think it's
Okay.
going to be one of these like stealth reveals where they're just gonna sometime tomorrow they're gonna say, hey, refresh metadata and it's there. Which I don't think that's the best way of approaching it. Or well, maybe it is. I don't know. Because you preferably want to like condense all buying behavior into like one specific time slot, right? So you like top the charts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if it's stealth, then people can't like plan ahead or something. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
happening within 24 hours, what they said, maybe it does have a time, but I couldn't see it on their Twitter. They just said within 24 hours, and it's gonna be a good one. Like I'm really interested to see what's happening, because right now we're like you mentioned, we're entering a little more of a bullish market these last 24 hours, and if the art's good, which it is, and I hope like if a lot of people like it, I wouldn't be surprised if we could see a bunch of like low confidence Azuki holders sell their Azuki and just buy 2 Pixons and then like bank the rest. I can see that happening.
I'm curious, like, how I don't want to dwell on Azuki too long, but people who are ready to get out, like myself, have already sold most likely.
Yeah.
So, and there were people that were buying in the single digits, I think, as a flip, and they've probably flipped their way out at this point. So I'm really
Maybe.
curious if we're just going to see this floor continue to hold in the high teens, maybe even get back into the 20s, and kind of chill there until the next piece of news comes out, albeit positive or negative. Like, I don't see this being a situation where the floor is going to really go down again. I think it's the worst for now is past them.
Yeah, like it would
So
be strange if it goes to 8 and then goes to
yeah,
19 and then it goes back to 8, you know?
yeah, I don't see that happening like at all. I think people start undercutting the floor by a lot, there's probably still enough liquidity out there that people would buy it. So I
It
think
appears to
that
be that way.
yeah, be it good, bad, or otherwise, like it's hit that point, and we'll see what happens next. So we also just had recently Cool Cats drop their 2022 roadmap. Have you had a chance to really read through? They put a thread out with it as well.
Oh, they
They
did?
they did, yeah, with some more details. They're gonna have a boss quest. They're gonna be coming to Cooltopia. They're gonna have a bunch of stuff going on at NFT NYC. There's going to be an online merch store. There's going to be the Coolverse, so they're making a more interactive and gamified experience.
Mm-hmm.
They have they have a lot of stuff coming. The floor has, with everything else, gone way down and is starting to make a little bit of a comeback. We've seen it, it dipped down under 4 at one
Yeah.
point, and now it's still only in the mid 4s. So there's a lot of room to grow there. There's still so much uncertainty about if the team can execute something bigger and better. But at this point, it also feels like there is not a ton of downside risk on Cool Cats at a 4.4 floor. I mean, anything can go to 0, but they would have to, like, I don't know, maybe if we found out that Klon, who is a creator of it, like murders puppies in his spare time, that would send it to 0. But outside of
I'd
that, I
say
don't really
so.
know. I don't really know what else would do it.
But if he's learning, then it's gonna go back up again, right?
Learn from those mistakes, man.
Yeah,
You
but
got to always be learning.
but if Cool Cats went down by 75%, it can only go down by 25% more, right? So I'm gonna put all my Bitcoin on it.
There's a lot, man.
Yeah,
Man, oh
but
man.
honestly, like to be serious, yeah, I think it's still a good buy. It's the question. It really comes down to, like you said, whether they can deliver or not, and it's still Cooltopia in general still feels like something that's out of their like reach. I think it's such like a technical undertaking,
Yeah,
and every single day they post like an announcement saying like, guys, we got some issues, like we're working on them, and they do fix them, like that's good. But it just feels like a lot. I do hear people be more happy that like about Cooltopia just because it's working quite well apparently. Um, but yeah, like this as well. Ever since the roadmap got posted, they had like 6 or 7 sales. Like, I don't like the conviction outside of their own community isn't that high. I think like there aren't a lot of
no,
new people looking to get into Cool Cats. It seems so that's something that they need to work on.
yeah, for sure. We also saw on, I think, Wednesday night,
Oh yeah, the
Yuga
trailer.
dropped the first little clip of gameplay from Other
Yeah,
Side. Quite honestly, it's a lot further along than I thought it was going to be at
yeah.
this point. Um, People are comparing it to like Fortnite, and just from the visuals of it,
Mm-hmm.
or like Grand Theft Auto, stuff like that. I'll pull up the trailer real quick, and I'll screen share this. But there's it looks pretty cool to me. Like, I don't know how far along the actual game is going to be for everyone to use, and they haven't said when it's going to be ready. But there's you know you
So
can
do you
see
know if,
right
if
here.
it's do you know if it's Unreal Engine or not?
No, it is what's the company that's doing it? Improbable, I
Oh, I
want to
don't know
say,
what
is
that
the
is.
name.
Oh,
um
but that's the people who have the meetings there and stuff, right? The UK-based team.
it might be, yeah.
They
So
posted stuff on Twitter.
yeah, we're seeing Curtis here. He's running around the other side. Visuals look cool. Like, so you see some of the other side land is like floating up in the air.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see, like, which of these other deeds are going to be, these like cloud cities, if you will, like kind of floating up
Mm-hmm.
there, and how that's going to work. You can see like that volcano up there is like
Yeah.
floating. You got the yacht club. I'm guessing you'll be able to explore that. And then they also had a whole thread of other things, with a breakdown of the Voyager's journey. Uh, I think that's, it looks pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
they're building out this whole game. Thankfully, I think it's going to be open to everyone, like not just BAYC holders, because I'm curious how many holders of BAYC are going to actively play this.
That's the
You
real
know?
question, right? And is it fun?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the main. Like, is it fun? And will people actually play it?
And they've said in the past that the next 100,000 pieces of land are not going to be for sale. It's going to be for people who, own other side land and who also, contribute and are active. So I do think that even if you don't own anything and you want to get a piece of the BAYC and Yuga ecosystem, being
Mm-hmm.
active in the demos and the testing of this could absolutely make you some money, especially if it's successful. Like if this goes really well, the my thought, and this has been a very common, theory going around, is that the next 100,000 pieces aren't going to be in this first like place. There's going to be a literal other side. So if you
Oh
look at the
yeah,
land, each piece of land like has a door, and so like there's almost like going to be this like mirror world,
like a
where
void
there's
type world.
kind of, yeah, and there is pieces of land that have voids. So that's one belief, and also that those 100,000 pieces of land are going to have their own like little companions, like similar to the Kodas. Um, it was in the pitch deck that the goblins are going to be a part of something. I don't know if that is going to be on the other pieces of land, but if we look at the website real quick, we see they've given a little, some cryptic outline of what's to come. Like we have the Voyager's journey to kind of demo everything. You're going to be able to, link your land and more in the codex. There's going to be decisions bringing possibilities and risks for the future of the other side. There's also going to be the decoupling, and this is something
Yeah,
that people are
yeah.
excited about. Of you're going to be able to take not only your coda but also the artifacts off of your land, and it's going to be a separate NFT. So one thing I'm curious about is how is that going to impact like the pricing and everything? Are you clearly the codas are going to be more valuable than the land, I think, based on very very limited information, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to come. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be cool. I mean, I got a baby at home who sleeps, a few hours at night while I'm still awake, so I'll have a little bit of time to mess around with the other side. So I plan on being pretty active with it if the game is good. If it's not, I'm probably not going to be. But yeah, it's I'm I'm more optimistic about the gameplay than I was a few weeks ago. It looks
Yeah,
like they're in a pretty decent place.
yeah, and I think that because there's voice chat in the game as well. At least the improbable, I think is what they called, right?
Hmm.
Their team has shown multiple videos where they have like meetings on their own platform and
Yeah.
everyone's talking to each other, right? If the other side becomes like this like hub where people come to certain lands to talk about certain things, like think of it as like a Twitter Spaces but better.
Yeah.
I think like it really needs to be that, and it really needs to succeed. If the other side doesn't succeed, it's really bad for the industry, like really really bad. And if Coinbase can launch an NFT marketplace and fail miserably, then the other side can also fail just because people don't care, or people just see it as like as an NFT and they don't interact with it, right? But you need active holders and like active like participants.
100%. It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
Um, like it's a really big risk. Part of me is unsure if I should sell some more Yuga pieces because, if it doesn't go well, I don't. The it not. I'm not going to say it's going to kill Bored Ape Yacht Club, but it's certainly going to drive the price way down of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it could be something really cool, and so I don't know if it's going to be that sort of like open. It's going to be an open metaverse, but is it going to be more of a game than people showing up for like meetings and Twitter Spaces? And I've heard like people talk about like concerts and stuff. Like, is it really that kind of a metaverse, or is it more of a gaming metaverse? Because if you look at the land, they all have like resources on there. And another thing they talked about in the article was, hinting at a marketplace where you could, you're going to be able to buy and sell, and those resources are going to be used to upgrade things. So I don't know if it's going to be this open metaverse
social type.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of a game.
Like, I hope it's both,
Yeah.
Like, spending my childhood, this game, I don't know if you know, it's like Habbo Hotel. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's like this social type game for, well, I guess it was for like, very like targeted towards like young people, right? Like 12 to 14.
Okay.
And when I played that, and it's like this hotel, like the Habbo Hotel is like this infinitely long hotel, and you'd have like your own room inside it, kind of, and you could like create whatever you want, and then people would come to that room, and usually the rooms were very like thematic, right? So you would discuss certain things in certain rooms. So I don't know. I hope somehow the other side becomes that, and it needs to find its place.
Yeah.
I hope it's fun and profitable and entertaining and everything.
I hope it can be, because we talked about this with Luca on the interview last Friday, as far as like, play to earn games are not really the way to bring in gamers to NFTs. I hope that, other side being a free game to play with the possibility of like in-game purchases if you want, and it being a fun game is how we kind of bridge that gap between NFT people and gamers who hate NFTs, because there's a lot of gamers who hate NFTs.
A lot of people hate NFTs. So
yeah, big time. A lot of people who are dancing on NFTs graves thinking that it's all over.
That's crazy.
But that's not quite the case. So we actually had a couple questions from our own FLOLiO team wanting to learn more about how we view NFTs. So we're going to talk about that to wrap up today's show. So the first question was, should NFT holdings in this type of market be treated differently than crypto, stocks, other sorts of investments? Why or why not? Why don't you lead off this one, Dan?
I think so. I mean, if you look at the general crypto market, for example, or the general stock market, you can see everything is just like collectively down. With NFTs, there's NFTs that even went up during the bear market, or like during the last week. I think by design, it's just, not everything goes down if Bitcoin goes down. Like not everything's gonna go down if Bored Ape goes down.
Yeah, I agree. There's also the fact that NFTs are not nearly as liquid as crypto and stocks. You can't just hit a few buttons and place a buy or a sell order. You can hit a few buttons and list your NFTs, or you can hit a few buttons and buy an NFT. But to liquidate that NFT, it could take time unless you're accepting, an offer that is usually under the floor price of it. I did that the other day with Azuki, but that was a different circumstance. So I would say that you need to treat it differently. People also treat them differently because there's definitely more of an emotional attachment to NFTs that a lot of people have, as opposed to like I have no attachment to any really of the stocks in my portfolio outside of whether or not I think they're going to make me money. With NFTs, I've had no problem selling Bored Apes. I'd have no problem selling the Bored Ape I have. It's just a matter of like, there's also that attachment of like, oh, I've gotten to know people through this. There's a deeper level to it. It's also very different because you can buy a stock or a token at really any time. But with NFTs, there's only going to be so many of them. And so you have to take into account when you're selling, like, oh, I really like this Azuki or this Bored Ape. If I sell it, I'm probably never going to get this same one back.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a very different part of the process as well. So that scarcity of an NFT compared to the lack of scarcity for a crypto token or, a stock is very different. So I think you have to also keep that in mind. There are crazy price actions on NFTs, just like with crypto, just like we've seen with the stock market lately. I still don't think there's any true blue chip NFT. We've talked about this a lot. These have been around for, like, most of these have been around for a year, some less. So, things right now that I would feel safe in are probably stuff like CryptoPunks. They've seen a pullback there, and some of those longer term ones that are more reputable people and who have been around for a while are probably good. And that leads into our next question. If you have anything else to add to that, Dan.
Well, yeah, like the only thing I want to add, just like touching on the blue chip stuff, is just like, like if the other side is like a complete failure, like you can see Bored Ape go to like 60,
Oh,
like that's
if other side's a failure, I see Bored Ape going below, like maybe into the 20s. Like I could see it being an absolute 80% pullback meltdown if other side goes poorly.
Yeah, and that's what I mean with like, like blue chip. I think a true blue chip wouldn't lose 80% of its value if something like just like fails, right? Like if the other side fails, then a true blue chip wouldn't go down 80%, So I think in that regard, these projects really haven't tested time long enough to be really called a blue chip. I mean, in general, the industry isn't that old.
Yeah.
What was it, 2017?
Mm-hmm.
And but it really, like realistically, has only began in like 2021.
Yeah, 2020 it started to pick up a bit. 2021 things got really busy. Got pretty popular. I will say too, like even Bored Apes, like the longest they've gone with a down period was a few months after the mutant drop happened, and then things picked back up. So we haven't even seen what it would look like for the market to go fairly stagnant for 6 months. That has yet to happen.
So
and it's probably going to at some point. Like I don't see a world where NFTs just hold up forever.
Yeah, so it's actually funny. I read something the other day that did an analysis on I think, like the classic quote unquote blue chips, and in their studies they found that these projects are going like if you look at like days, right? There are more days that they go down than they go up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the total amount of days that they've gone down and compare that to the total amount of days they've gone up, there's more days down than up. So that means on the days that they go up a lot. And on the days that they go down, they don't go down a lot. So that's pretty interesting.
It's also one of those things where if, we'll stick with this first question still. If you can keep a reasonable head, you can take advantage of that, because there's often these short spikes up around an announcement or something really hyped happening, and then a slow trickle usually back down. Like the floor doesn't usually crash on things. It may be like 5 to 10% a day, but you can play those numbers if you want. You just can't get married to, we've talked about different biases in the past. You can't get anchored to the price of a project. Like I remember seeing Doodles at 2 ETH, and it's never going back to that. And I have to be okay with the fact that, like, hey, it still could be a good buy at 12 if it goes back to that point. So that's definitely one thing I would keep in mind with these is you have to play into, the hype around the project, what kind of sentiment is dictating the price action, and what's going on with the price of ETH as well. Because, as ETH goes down, we've seen that floors can remain pretty steady. If we see a huge run up, like if ETH, whenever it runs back up, because I fully believe it will, if we see $4,500 or even $5,000 ETH, what is that going to do to the price of your NFT? I think the ETH price will go down because, people can say 1 ETH equals 1 ETH all they want, but I don't really believe that.
Yeah, I do really want to see what happens, because I think, like, I don't want to speak for you, but I if I recall correctly, our hypothesis was that if ETH like rips to like 5,000, we'll mainly see the more established projects remain, as all these like low confidence newer projects, like cheap mint projects, they're suddenly worth like a lot, 4 times more, like 3 times more than they used to, just because ETH ripped. And then a lot of people find it to be worth too much, and then they like liquidate, and the floor is gonna go to shit because everyone's trying to like liquidate. So gonna be very interesting to see. I really hope just ETH rips to like 5,000 just for science, like I want to see like who's gonna die, who's gonna live, like a arena. All these projects are being thrown in, and they're all like like one announcer, like the bored ape. What is he called? The ape with the potion from the other side.
Curtis?
Curtis. Curtis is gonna
Yeah.
stand there with a microphone. Ethereum is now $10,000, and then you see the doodles and the cool cats.
Well, if we see Ethereum go to $10,000, give me a heads up so I can sell all my bored apes and just take that ETH and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm going to do. So our second question was, what are some actionable opportunities in your mind? A couple projects that we believe in long term that's had a floor price reduction, over the last few weeks. So we've talked about this a little bit. I'm still very, very confident that World of Women will bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
And the World of Women Galaxy. We saw that, when I said that it was around 0.8, I bought some because I wanted to, put my money where my mouth is. The floor dropped back down to almost half an ETH. So at first it went up to almost 1, and I was like, oh, great, another great call. Then the floor dipped back down to like 0.6. I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. And now the floor is back to like almost 0.8. So back where I started, which is just like, welcome to NFT trading.
Yeah.
If you're new to this, one day you're an idiot, the next day you're a genius. You just have to have a long-term point of view on it. So what are some other projects, Dan? We talked about Cool Cats being undervalued potentially. Yeah. Where else do you, and I know your affinity for Llamaverse, you love the llamas. Where else would you be looking right now?
Like Llamaverse is a question mark, I think. I personally do believe that they will be able to do well in long term. But if I had to go for more like high confidence plays, I'd say Artifact for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about Clone X because I'm just personally unsure what Clone X holds for the future.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely like Monolith. Like the Monolith 1 right now is worth 5.8 on OpenSea.
That's it?
Yeah. They went down from 11, I think.
Yeah.
So, so with a Monolith 1, you get the shoe, the vial, and then the second Monolith. And, you're part in the active ecosystem of Artifact. And, I think that's undervalued for sure.
Yeah. I still think that, I've been saying it for a long time. I'm still holding mine, but I think Gutter Cat Gang is still a really good bet. They just had the cloning for Gutter Dog starting yesterday. I think we'll get an announcement soon of when their Gang Wars game is going to start. And it's also been announced that they're working with the same company that helped Bored Ape Yacht Club with their token to release the Gang token in the third quarter of this year. So that's one project where we've seen the Gutter clones previously run up against some other big projects when they were hyping. When the Gutter, the cat clones came out, it was when Azuki was ripping back in March. When the rats came out, it was when Moonbirds was going on. When the pigeons came out, it was when Other Side was getting ready to launch. So they've had like some really bad timing. But I think Q3 of this year could really be a good one for Gutter Cat Gang. And it's also a very reasonable entry point. Like you can grab one of the clones right now for like 0.14. You can grab like the original species of, the pigeons or the rats for around like 1 ETH. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of potential there. That's another one. I don't think there's a ton of downside risk. Like the team is doxed. They've been around for a year now. They've continued to, deliver. The community is strong. Like I'm still holding a full set because I think it's going to be, a long-term good play. So there's that. There's World of Women. Where else?
I'd say Wolf Game.
Yeah.
Still, we still don't have like a staple. Well, I guess the only staple play to earn game you can call is Axie. But is Axie fun? I don't think so. And like even if you like, let's say that you're in this like purely for the flip, right? Like you have no interest in the game, you have no confidence in play to earn whatsoever. You're just looking into Wolf Game as like an investment and to just flip, right?
Yeah.
It's heavily backed by VaynerMedia. That by itself, like if you only look at it for the flip, it's gonna be pumped to shit the second the full game is live.
Yeah.
Just because Gary Vee has a huge investment in it, and his whole family is like addicted to Wolf Game, And I think in his like last Instagram thing, he had like a Wolfgame hat or something, whatever. But I just think like if you're purely in this for the flip, and you're willing to like gamble on it being pumped by some influencer, I still think it's a fine play. I think it's going to be pumped to hell, just because he has like a huge financial investment in it, and you know he's got stuff to gain from like promoting it a lot. And there's nothing he can get from promoting it right now. There isn't a whole lot going on other than the alpha game. That's like an intermediate game, and yeah. So you know, I still think Wolf Game, and they're doing some revolutionary stuff. And yeah, I don't know. The scariest part for me for Wolf Game is like, if it does pump, like what do I do? You know, like
Yeah.
I would have
So
a large bag.
let's look. I want to go through some of our trending collections tab, but stuff that's not near the top, because I still think that's a good place to look. So, you know, if we go back up here, we see the main things. MFers is one that I'm interested in. If you want exposure to Yuga, but you don't have, you know, not that 5 ETH is a small amount of money, but
Yeah.
compared to everything else, Gordon, one of the founders, already said that they're planning stuff for Me Bits and that they are metaverse ready. So I think that that could be an interesting buy option right there. The Ragnarok reveal didn't go great. Cyber Brokers could be another good one as well. They have a very strong team and strong community behind it. I would take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 10 KTF stock room, there was a lot of excitement built up last week around their announcement. It was a trailer. From what I could tell, it wasn't like a huge event. Like it ended up sending the price floor back down, but they have a really strong team with Beeple and Guy Osiri behind it. So that's another good one that you can head over and, you know, check out some of the 10 KTF items. You know, we have Akutars down at
Oh, going up again.
1.27. Yeah, they were down under 1 ETH at one point, but Akutars
Yeah.
at 1.27, I think, is still a ton of potential there.
Yeah.
Only 5,000 unique owners, so still need to see that number go up considerably. But I would, you know, put Akutars as a very good bet under, you know, 1.5 ETH. Like that's a good price right there. Invisible Friends at 4.4, that's rough. Alien Friends at 0.84. I don't really know if I would, you know, you have these right next to each other. I would probably take World of Women Galaxy over Alien Friends, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And really, you know, past that, you got V Friends, Cool Pets at half an ETH. Holy God.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
That's so rough.
I'm a Quirkies holder. I love the Quirkies. That's actually another one I would probably look at too, because they have a companion drop coming in June, and there wasn't like much of a pump surrounding that. So I'm still holding some Quirkies. There's only 5,000 total, and a lot of the holders that I interact with are very confident in the project long term. So their supply isn't, you know, crazy high or anything. So all it takes is, you know, an announcement or two to really send that floor up. So yeah, there's quite a bit that I still believe in long term, and it's mainly just going to be focused around teams that are continuing to try and innovate, who aren't focusing on floor price right now, who haven't rugged other projects previously. Those are going to be the projects that I'm looking at.
Well, then you should be looking at Wolf Game. Dang it.
All right,
Come on, JWeb.
Dan. We might actually do like a Wolf Game episode where you talk me through it.
I can do that. Maybe.
I'd also look at Meta Heroes through Pixel Vault. Like I've said it before, but they're continuing to do some really cool stuff. They just had their 1-year anniversary this last week. So that's one project that I still think we need to get someone from the team on the show to really talk us through everything, because there's a lot going on there. But I think any other projects that you want to add to that list, Dan?
None that I can think of right now. I mean, you know, Pudgy Penguins. Like, we had a really good talk with him, with the CEO of Pudgy Penguins not too long ago. And the stuff that he said seemed really good. So, in that regard, I would say check out the episode. See if you like what he's saying, and then, you know, consider buying into the project.
All right. All right. So I think that about wraps it up for today, Dan. Any closing words before we send it out of here?
None whatsoever. Other
All
than
right.
thank
Well,
you.
everybody, yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for doing this show with me again, Dan. It's
Thank
been
you.
an honor as always. So whenever you watch this Friday, Saturday, over the weekend at any point, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, head over to FLOLiO.com, check out the site, link your account, download the browser extension, all that good stuff. We want to continue to bring you, very strong NFT or Dan Strong, my mediocre NFT analysis. Uh, and we're continuing to build out the site and add more value there. So for Dan, for the rest of the team at FLOLiO, from my parents' basement, this is Jeremy Weber. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.